My name is Chris Stevens. I have been on the job hunt for quite some time now. I've also probably had more interviews than any single one person here in the past 3 months than most of you had in your entire life. That mission, so I set out to really find what kind of companies exist out there in the space right now, what type of candidates are looking for, and what would be best for me. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to say up here may not be best for you guys, maybe common sense to you guys, but I swear a lot of you are going to learn something new from this, and I hope you do. So I'll wing this as best I can. So I want to try and make this more of a conversation too, if you're at all interested. So the first thing that I wanted to really get to is that before we can really start a journey like this, we have to figure out what our goal is, right? And the goal for me here was, like I said, to find a really great opportunity and not just take the next job or the next step. I really wanted to make sure that I was moving in the direction of a 5-year plan, of even like a 10 or 20-year plan here. The longer view you can take out to things, the higher chance of success you have at actually reaching it, and the more fulfilled you'll be in that path too. I grew up in the Northeast in Connecticut. I worked in New York City for a bunch of years. I worked for startups. I worked for large companies. I've really worked for a lot of really great companies and really kind of terrible companies. And all of the choices, all decisions were mine, and I own them all. But from that, I've learned some really interesting laws. I'm going to share them with you. So if about 10% of applications will result in an offer, this is something I've found. You can talk to me about this afterwards. We can share notes, but this has been just from my sample size of what I've seen. Of all the applications I've submitted, 10 actually go somewhere that's valuable. 20% of those are actually appealing. So even the vast majority of those are still like not so great. You got your 2%. Yeah. So if we want at least 2 high-quality offers, because you don't just want one, you want to have them compete against each other at least a little bit, so you can say so you actually get a good sample. Like, am I going to get paid enough? Am I going to feel like I'm leaving something on the table? If you can compare 2 offers, at least 2 offers, preferably more, that's a good place to be in. So with this criteria in mind, when I started this, I need to figure out how many applications will it take for me to meet this goal. Now, some of you are good at math, and don't worry, it's not that scary. There we go. It's just that, right? It's pretty simple. And can everyone do that math real quick? 3, 2, 1. How many applications is that? 100. Okay. There's 100 applications I knew I had to go through. Okay. And here are the first 100. Okay. And I broke them apart a little bit. This was the best data I could come up with. I had some other stuff in here about how many coding interviews I did, on how many on-sites I did. But these are all first contact applications. Okay, the numbers get a lot bigger if we talk about on-sites, tests, second round, third rounds, and stuff like that. Some interesting data points. So at day 63, I actually hit the 100 mark. Okay, that's 63 business days. So that's about 3 months. Okay, it took me about 3 months to cover 100 applications. These are applications I looked at. I looked at the company. I considered, are they worth my time? Do they have something interesting? Now you'll see here also, I want to stay on the slide just for a few minutes. About almost, what do we have about 40% of them were recruiters. Recruiters either reached out to me and I said, yes, I want to talk to them. Recruiters I reached out to, people I already knew. For all different sorts of companies, independent recruiters, consultants, blah, blah, blah. Another, what would that be? About 40 to 80%, almost 90, so that would be, I can't do math right now, 45, almost another half of it, were these first phone calls, companies reaching out to me. Yeah, I'll let you go. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, throw the mic. So I'll talk real quick. So these first phone calls reaching out to me. So these were the recruiters, excuse me, I should actually say, these were the recruiters that reached out to me. These were the recruiters, they had phone calls I made out. That's what this was. I had to remind myself about that. And the last were just online applications I submitted sheets to. Okay. I'll keep going with this. So you see some bumps here, and I outlined the bumps. So the good news is that events matter. Okay, I got huge bumps from South by Southwest and DevOps Days. So each time was a substantial increase in the amount of activity that I had. These are really good to expand, and you can actually see that that after South by, the slant increases a bit again, and then it kind of starts flattening out, or it actually stays pretty linear. But after DevOps days, it really took off. So that was because that was industry specific to what I was doing. So generalized events from this data, generalized events are good to get you like to another level. But if you really want to take off at a faster pace and accelerate, industry specific events, obviously. So again, common sense, but I think this kind of helps show what that is. So.
Are you saying that somebody would come here?
Wait.
He's been waiting.
I'll just yell at him for forever.
Can you give a general overview of what position you were applying for? Because
yes.
From the beginning, if you were a senior principal DevOps and security,
okay.
5 companies already competing for you.
Excellent question. Thank you for asking. These were in my notes. I'm glad you. So I was looking at a very specific position, or actually a couple of very specific positions, and they were things like cloud architect, senior DevOps engineer, SRE, principal SRE, or a lead of some kind. I was looking for higher level experience and leadership position opportunities.
So Chris,
So boy,
are you saying that if somebody were to come and speak at, say, an Austin DevOps or a Cloud Austin meetup, and they were doing a job search, that their opportunities might jump a bit?
oh yeah. Oh, I should say I spoke at DevOps Days as well. So, so yeah, but yeah, I like that. Really, what this shows is that it doesn't just show the bump up, but it shows the acceleration. It shows the graph gets steeper. You throw it. Yeah, I can play middleman, cut off. I can play cut off.
Hello, cool. So I'm totally on board with this, and I like what I'm hearing so far. This data is consistent with what I've seen, but I wanted to add in some in a discussion format. The last uptick where you've seen acceleration past DevOps days, that might be overdetermined. It's probably true, but there's another term that's added to that. The Austin market, we've observed for almost half a decade that the Austin market itself has an uptick in late April for all jobs in tech. It's like it's summer hiring season.
Interesting. All right, very cool. So that could be another explanation for this too. That's good to know, because as we can see, this only goes from February 25th to basically last week. Right. It actually goes to the end of May, beginning of June, right there. So good. If we had maybe a full year's or a couple years worth of data, that'd be good. So what I would love to do, what would be good to see from this, if because we do have that pay talk here every year. I kept track of all my work search activities. Mainly, it started as because it was a requirement for unemployment, but then it became part of a project to do this. So if you gentlemen save your information, and I just put it in an Excel spreadsheet and put how many a day I was doing and what types, we could all add this together and really see what it looks like over time, or if there's other ways. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there's also an uptick at the end of quarter, beginning of quarter. So
yes,
March, May, etc.
And that may have been, we saw, well, at least when this one, we don't see a whole big one in March. It was the April one, but I did enter the job search towards the end of a quarter. So maybe I got a little bit of the beginning of the second quarter bump too, but but I think based on my original calculations when I started this, I figured I'd be able to do this in about 3 months. And that I was pretty close. So, but thank you for that. That was all good. So the question is, did I actually, get a job? To be continued. But there's good news on this. I actually have 3 offers I'm working on right now that I should resolve by the end of the week. So, yeah.
How many of these offers?
Okay, excellent question. So there's more to talk about. Wait, there's more. So from networking, so this is where my notes are. I have those specifics in here. Though I first started the search by going after my personal network, okay, by talking to people I knew, the people they knew, and so on. And in fact, I got a couple really good opportunities right off the bat from my personal network. The problem that I found with personal networks is not that the job opportunities were poor or the salary was poor. In fact, they were all fantastic. The timing wasn't right. They weren't quite ready to hire yet. They had an open rec, but they needed to change it for some reason or close it. It just was very difficult to really finish going that route because I was getting the insight into those really early, which was great, but they weren't solidified. So I actually wasn't able to execute on them fully. In fact, this chart almost ended at the end of March. But I got an offer, but they had to take it back immediately because the requirement of the position changed and it couldn't be remote and some other things. And in fact, that happened to me 4 times in my search, all with remote opportunities, by the way. All with remote opportunities. Is they had at one point they said, we really like you, we thought we could hire you for this, but we just were told we can't hire remote. So shoot. Okay. That's when I actually focused away from, I removed my focus from remote opportunities to in-person opportunities. I am gonna pull up my notes for this because I have some specific things I wanna mention. Are there any other questions while I do this real quick? Actually, this works okay. Yeah. So let's did that, good. Okay, so we're gonna talk about some lessons I learned now. Where's that? Cursor. There you go. Yeah. Yep.
Do you have data on how many offers were willing to work, or at least originally, ostensibly, were willing to work remotely?
Not specifically. I can give you a gut feeling estimate. There was about a third, and they were primarily early in my search. And as I progressed later in my search, I stopped pursuing remote opportunities. My previous gig was a remote opportunity. I really liked it. I would have been fine in another one, but due to the failures I was having early on, I decided not to pursue them anymore. So what I had to do here was I had to do some recalculation and figure out what was actually going to be worth my time, because I was spending a lot of time and effort on these things, and I really need to keep moving. So
you started looking at on-site locations?
I had been looking at on-site the entire time, but I removed focus from remote and put it almost entirely into on-site.
But from a commute standpoint, how far were you willing to commute?
Oh, my commute standpoint, that's another good question. I was looking as far north, I live right by Zilkle Park. I was looking as far north as the Domain, but basically if you were north of the Arboretum, you had to be like a super unicorn. It's like, seriously, like for me, yeah. I have one of the benefits of living really near downtown. There's a lot of opportunity there, so it didn't make sense to me to expand my search too much past what would have been like a 15-minute bike ride for me. And that's how I chose to live my life and set myself up there, and I'm happy with the decision. So, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Question. Do you have data of how much time did you invest in average per interview or?
Yes. Okay. So I do. So per recruiter call was 10 or 15 minutes. Per phone call with a company directly was more like 30. And the filling out an application process was 5 or 10 minutes. So we can go back there. So we could probably figure out some numbers from that. So if we said 40 was 15 minutes, so 4, that's 10, right? That's about 10 hours, right? Plus another 30 for another 45. So it'd be, we'll just round up to 50. So it'd be 25 hours, so 35 hours, plus another like 20 applications or so. I'm just really rough numbers, was like 5 minutes a piece. So that'd be another hour. So we're at like 36. We're almost at a 40-hour work week. When all said and done, this is very rough, but 40 hours of job searching. Now, you say, if you'd done that full time, you could have done that in 1 week, right? But just the opportunities will come all at one time, right? I also had to take some mental health days, of course. That was another thing I wanted to talk about. Some lessons I learned was that, I'm going to stick with this and then I'm going to talk about a couple other lessons. Number one, code submissions and code tests are worthless. Yeah, they're worthless. I did 4 of them and they were all basically, 3 of them were basically shot back to me and said, I'm a terrible coder. And I said, I'm not a developer, I'm sorry. One of them said they really liked it, but I didn't do one requirement that was the extra credit one. And they didn't like that I didn't go the extra mile. And I'm like, that's a really shallow thing I was on a plane. I did it on a plane and I submitted it in the time requirement, you know, so anyway. Yeah, I did it in the cloud. Yeah. In fact, the one that one actually I'm super proud of. And I actually, if you actually want a really good DevOps coding test, I can give you this one. This one is actually really good. It involves AWS, Python, APIs, and stuff like that. It's actually one of the better ones if you just want to get some good Python coding practice. So speaking to recruiters resulted in a lot of phone screens, but it was really a crapshoot as to whether the position was really what they advertised it to be. Not to diss any recruiters. I actually have some very good friends who are recruiters who have been great by me in the past. But in general, recruiters I haven't met them before, it's really a crapshoot. I would recommend next time I will just stick with the recruiters that I know personally because I know that they know me and they know what I want. So that's where I'm gonna use my network heavily then. That's on the other hand, if you're on unemployment and you really need to make those work search activities, letting your LinkedIn profile be public is a great way to get recruiters to call you and fill those extra requirements. And if you really need it, a couple other things: schedule on-sites ASAP. Really push for that after the first phone call. Don't go to a second or third round phone call. It just gives them more time to be wishy-washy. Go right to the on-site. I actually had an on-site that was originally scheduled for 3 hours. I walked out of there in 30 minutes because I knew right away it wasn't for me. I'm glad I did. I didn't waste their time or my time. Don't feel bad about that too. If you walk into a place and you know it's not right for you, just jet. Seriously, don't waste their time. Don't waste your time. Be polite about it and say, hey, I realize this probably isn't gonna be right for me. I'm gonna give you back the rest of your day. Okay. Yes, exactly. Just because you committed yourself to do a thing doesn't mean that if you realize early that it's bad, you have to settle it out. Like I never understood why people like cook something and they taste it's terrible and then they eat the whole thing because they feel bad if they throw it away. I'm like, no, just throw it away. Just make something better. Yeah. Okay. So I am going to give one plug. I'm not paid by them at all, but they have been awesome. Hired.com was awesome in this search. They gave me the least amount of interviews and have had the greatest % of success in what I wanted. In fact, 2 of the 3 offers I'm working on right now came from them, and I only had to be on the phone, I think 7 times. And the 2 on-sites were actually 2 of the on-sites were from them as well. So I've used them twice from this career search and a previous one. And this time, the previous one didn't result in anything. This one was on point. It didn't annoy me, didn't bother me with extra stuff. When things came through, it was actually of value. Really liked it. So if you're looking, I recommend that. Good. Got the puck or the cube? There you go.
Most unexpected surprise during this whole process? Something that you thought was just out of there?
Any unexpected surprises?
Or like the biggest one, or like, hey, I didn't realize one of those moments.
Well, I didn't expect Hired to be that good. I expected it just to be another tool in the box. I didn't expect it to be that valuable. And apparently I spoke to them. They can actually, the people that are looking to hire on Hired can actually see who else you're interviewing with, interestingly enough. So what was funny is I noticed I started getting healthcare companies, and then I responded positively to those, and I started getting more healthcare companies, and I'm happy I did because I actually like the healthcare companies I've been seeing. That was interesting. I don't know if that's directly related or if that's just a correlation, but that was interesting. Let me get this thing back. So something that was really critical to this whole success was just my mental health and making sure that I was taking enough time for me, because even though I only put in maybe 40 hours of work, it was basically a full-time gig and the stress was immense. You know, you have to keep everybody's name in mind. You have to make sure your schedules are good. So I did a lot of things to kind of keep myself going. Let's see, some things I did. I reached out to my personal network, not just for job opportunities, but just to have lunch, just to kind of talk about some things, if I had any doubts or questions, or just hang out, you know, make sure that my social network is still, my real social network is still solid. I bought myself a brand new pair of boots I really wanted because I figured, hell, I need a job now to pay for them. So I was like, that kept me motivated. Just like, I gotta make some money. So that was fine. That actually started me to start my own personal consultancy. I ended up getting a handful of gigs out of that, made some extra money, got to see some new things, get some good experience. I'm really happy I did that. I also got to learn about the Austin, it's not the commissioner, it's the clerk. So I got to hang out with the clerk, the clerk's office and follow the paperwork. I enjoy that. I'm a nerd, you know, paperwork was interesting to fill out. And I got to learn about how our local government works. That was cool. I kept volunteering. I didn't feel bad if I took a day and just played video games. I needed it. You know, I read a lot. I read many books. A couple of you here suggested books to me that I read. I found a few more that I read on my own. But definitely take up something that maybe you take this time and use it in a way that you may not be able to use normally. That brings me to an interesting thing is there's this idea of functional fixedness, where if you see an option as performing only one function and not seeing something new, or is that the other one? Yeah, it's this idea that if you see something as only performing or being only used in one way, we get stuck in that. That's called functional fixedness. And I realized that this extra time I have was empty space, not to be filled, but to be used as a resource. And that kept me going too. I was able to just take that time and take care of myself, which I liked. I was able to do this because I've always saved my money, and I was able to give myself a long pathway. I made sure that I could continue the search for 2 or 3 times longer than I need to. I think that was important too, being prepared for it. If you don't have any way to support yourself, then you probably won't be able to follow a lot of these strategies I'm doing. So I do recommend that while you're working, save your money, get an emergency fund going. Literally 6 times what you spend a month, you should be able to live off that if you can. That was the goal I did, and it really helped me a lot. You got a hand?
What video games did you play?
Oh man, okay, cool. I got a 96% completion on Red Dead Redemption, which is really high if you know that game. I only got about 50% completion in Metal Gear Solid 5. I liked those kind of more sandboxy games like those, and I played some older games. I think I went back and I played Skyrim again. New character, and I did play one more game. I can't remember what the other one is, but those were the biggies. Piece of advice for the actual interview. Gary Vaynerchuk, get in touch with your fucking feelings, people. Excuse my language, it's my one F-bomb all night. I talked way more philosophy and people and culture than I did tech. If I let people, we talked some tech, but if the conversation that they want to talk about was really geared towards, do you know this technology? Can you write this? Blah, 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 blah. I knew they were looking for a cog in the wheel, and that's not who I am. You guys might really enjoy doing that stuff, being really heads down, be a dedicated contributor like that. That's me. I can contribute with the best of them, but I really have to be thinking about things from a broader perspective. And so that's something I did. I really went in saying, like, even if this doesn't work, I'm gonna make some friends, gonna talk about the things I want to talk about. I always tried to lead the interview as much as I could. Funny enough, I would get guys up there and use the whiteboard before I did. That was a trick that I used. If any of you have any sort of performance anxiety, try to flip the script. You ask the questions. That was huge for me. In fact, the first interview I did, the first guy I talked to said, "I feel like you're interviewing me," and I was like, "That's exactly the way I want you to feel," because it's a two-way street. It's really a one-way street. They can offer you the job, but only you can accept it. So really, it's your decision. When you're in there, you have all the power, and don't think you don't. And I really want to try to emphasize that. That's a big thing that I think we sometimes go to employers begging for a job when really we should be going there and say, I'm valuable, and what can I do for you? Not that what can you give me, or what kind of scraps can I receive from you, but really, you're the owner here. You're the one selling your wares, which is yourself, your personality, your skills, and all that. And really, it's in your time. It's the one thing we can't get back. So this was a nice one. I really felt good thinking about that a lot. That probably is most of what I want to talk about that I have on here. So is there any other questions? Boyd? 5. Okay, so 5 minutes for questions. This is great.
What other online sites did you use?
What other online sites? Okay, I used LinkedIn, but it was essentially just spam. It ended up just being, most of that was just bulk. I used the Texas Workforce Solutions site, which is pretty good. When I started it, for the first month or two, there was nothing on there for me. But then one day, there was like 50 jobs. Great, I started reading through them. It had come in waves. I started thinking about one night, I just laid in bed one night and said, who would I really want to work for? Or what industry do I really want to work for? And who are the best players in those industries? The whole thing is I didn't want to work for suboptimal players. I wanted to work for someone that was really pushing the edge somewhere. I decided also that I didn't want to work for certain companies. And those were things that I decided on and I was not going to compromise on. That was just it too. I built a small list of things that I wanted, and I highlighted the things I would not compromise on. Everything else I could compromise on, but there were a short list of things I would not compromise on. That's very important. If you're asked to compromise on one of those things list, that's a hard no. It's like a relationship, right? So jobs and careers and things like that are a lot like being in personal relationships. There's certain things that you're not willing to compromise on, and that's fine. You shouldn't be made feel guilty about that or anything. But be willing to compromise on the rest to get what you want. Because the more specific you are, the less opportunities there are, the harder it is, the longer it takes. But just gonna be willing for that.
What do you think your sifting rate was in terms of what job advertisements versus what you applied to?
My sifting rate?
Yeah, say you saw 100 job postings and you applied to one out of that 100.
Oh, good question. Well, as far as the online ones, I went directly searching for those. That was a 1-to-1. I saw it and it was what I wanted. I liked it. I mean, I probably saw 100 at least times more. And that's probably about right. So maybe 10,000 in total. But you screen down a page, you're like, nope. Or you get a bulk of 10 or 20 a day and you're like, maybe that one. So probably that.
You can briefly talk about your background skill set.
Sure. Yeah, originally came from sysadmin side of the house. Have a computer science degree though. Work with developers. I do scripting. I'm not a developer, but I can definitely read and write code. But I don't. I leave it up to the professionals, to do that stuff. Very skilled at cloud operations, virtualization. I mean, back in the day, we built an entire cloud out of VirtualBox and ZFS. If anyone knows that, it was great though. It worked.
How old are you?
Well, you're not hiring me, so I can tell you I'm 30. So. It's funny. That's a benefit that you get. I could ask them how old they were. They couldn't ask me how old I was. So yeah, I forgot your question already. I'm sorry.
I was just asking you about your background.
Oh yeah, my background. Yeah, I've given that background story just about as many times. So it's ingrained in. But I moved around. Connecticut, New York, here. Been here for about 5 years. I actually worked here at Rackspace. They really set me off. On a good grounding here. I didn't see a future for myself here, but that doesn't mean there's not a future here. I really loved it here. Some of my best friends here are from here. So if you're looking for a job, check out Rackspace. They're good people. So, yeah. What else? Any other?
Chris?
Yo.
Have you landed yet?
You missed it. That was to be continued. I have 3 offers that I'm working on right now, and I should be hired by the end of the week. So thank you. Good deal.
You said you did some consultancy. How did you find consultant type positions?
Okay. That was primarily through my personal network as well. So my personal network was good for a few things like that. Finding that consultancy, getting back in touch with some people that I maybe hadn't seen in a while, meeting up with those recruiters that I knew that could actually help me. So yes, primarily through my personal network that I do that. I wasn't advertising. I just kind of put it out there. I gave these talks. I got it through 2 specific friends and then a friend of a friend. So that was good. It helped pay some bills while I was working on this.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Texas Workforce Commission.
Yeah.
Workintexas.com.
Yeah.
When I was unemployed, I was offered some free training. It was like a 6 to 8 week boot camp to pick up about 6 certifications, a Linux, a CCNA, and 4 security certs because there's a huge demand for security people.
That's pretty
I want to
awesome.
let people know that if you're unemployed, basically go to the Texas Workforce Commission, workintexas.com, and see if you can get some free training.
That's really good. I went the other way with it. Last time I was in, I didn't do it this time because I was full in job search mode. Last time, I actually took classes at ACC and they were subsidized. That's how I got my training through them as well. That was a good thing. So yeah, that sounds great. I wish I'd seen something like that when I was doing this. That would have been cool. It probably is still there. I don't know.
Yeah, state offers it for everybody. So
That's awesome. I when I talked, and I know we're probably done now, but I talked to some of the people there, and I was like, "This is what I'm looking for." They didn't mention anything specific like that, but that's good to know for next time. So thank you, y'all.